Episode 9, Babysitter Blues. Another Christopher Robin-focused episode. This one's split between the first half, where Christopher Robin's being babysat but keeps getting out of bed and causing trouble, and the second half, where Kanga leaves Christopher Robin in charge of watching Roo. The first half makes me wonder about the nature of imagination and the toys again. It almost feels like the toys must actually be alive here, like, as in not just a Calvin and Hobbes, the kid just imagines it kind of way. Otherwise, it would seem like Christopher Robin is kind of a psycho. Like, he's sneaking downstairs for a glass of water and really wants to be quiet and not get caught, but then I guess he must have, just grabbed stuff out of the fridge and just thrown it all over the kitchen? So just like Christopher Robin's camera in Pooh Oughta Be in Pictures, the design of this refrigerator made me wonder again about what era the show is set in. I did some very cursory research into the history of refrigerator design and came away with the sense that this fridge, with its latch handle, freezer on the bottom design, and overall shape, would have been obsolete by the 1970s. Which at first made me think, okay, so since we know Godzilla is a thing, this must be sometime after 1954, and this fridge narrows it down to the 1960s or prior, maybe the 70s, maybe if they just have an old fridge. But then I remembered that Winnie the Pooh is from England, and as a true American patriot, I naturally assumed that other countries must have lagged behind the US technologically, including fridge technologically. Turns out I was right, actually even more than I expected. According to this article in The Telegraph that I dug up, it wasn't until 1970 that even half of British households had a fridge. But it also claims that even then, 0% of those households had a fridge-freezer combo like this one in Christopher Robin's house here. Which, I mean, I don't know if I believe that. 0? Really 0? Well, if it is true, it'd mean this show is set sometime post-1970, probably well past that, unless Christopher Robin is just really well off and has a really fancy fridge like this long before most other British families did. But on the other hand, is Christopher Robin British, actually? I know the real-life Christopher Robin was, historically, but he doesn't have a British accent in this version of Pooh. Neither does his mom, or the babysitter, or any of the toys for that matter. I don't know, maybe New Adventures reimagines the 100-Acre Wood as being in America. You know, just like the Mormons did with the Garden of Eden. The Disney studio that produced the show is an American studio, and all the writers and producers I could find information about were also American. It was animated by a Japanese company, TMS Entertainment, who also made pretty much every version of Lupin the Third, as well as about 1 million other shows, mostly anime, but plenty of Western cartoons too. So, here's my theory. The creators probably designed Christopher Robin's home in New Adventures based on their own childhood memories. And going by Wikipedia, the creative director and one of the most prominent names in the show's credits is this guy Mark Zaslov, who would have been Christopher Robin's age in the early 60s, and who I get the feeling may have edited his own Wikipedia page. There's a series of edits on his page made in May of 2018 that extol his many virtues and successes, made by this guy, Waits. Is that you, Mark, buddy? Well, your user page says you're exactly who I think you are, so theory confirmed, I guess. Anyway, that's what I think. The American creators use their own childhoods as the blueprint for Christopher Robin. The show takes place sometime around 1960, and yes, implicitly in America. Okay, so that was a lot of words to say about a refrigerator. So yeah, then Christopher Robin has to take care of Roo. Tigger's a jerk and doesn't respect authority, and runs away with Roo during a game of hide-and-seek. And also he's too scared to bounce up this tree, even though we've seen him bounce up bigger trees no problem. Maybe the Kessie incident put the fear of God in him. Anyway, Christopher Robin learns how hard he's been making things on his babysitter, and next time she's watching him, he's a good boy and goes to bed when she tells him to. It's sort of weird to me that the story frames Christopher Robin as being troublesome specifically to the babysitter. I guess when his mom tells him to go to bed, he just does. So why doesn't he do that when the babysitter says to? We don't get anything in the dialogue to suggest that he, doesn't respect his babysitter or even dislikes her, really, or doesn't think she can tell him what to do because she's not his mom or anything like that. You'd think that instilling the message into kids that they should listen to their parents would be more important than telling them they should listen to their babysitters. Basically nothing about the story would change if instead of the babysitter it had just been his mom. His slim, well-dressed, hot, seemingly single, hot, sexy mom. I mean, look at this woman. God damn.
Oh, bother.
So yeah, this episode's okay. Episode 10. How much is that rabbit in the window? What is even going on in this episode? I have so many questions. So everyone's coming to borrow stuff from Rabbit, and he's fed up with it. Pooh accidentally rips a bunch of pages off of Rabbit's calendar, 23 pages to be exact, even though Christopher Robin later says Rabbit's calendar is only a week ahead, and Rabbit mistakenly thinks it's his birthday. He gets really excited to be thrown a birthday party, but when he realizes there isn't one, he concludes that his friends don't appreciate him and packs up to move away. And then he just gets grabbed by a mysterious man in a car? I do not understand this man. I'll come back to him. I tried using this truck as reference for the time period, but unfortunately it didn't help much. Some cursory Googling seemed to suggest that pickup trucks from the 50s and earlier had a more rounded, sort of VW buggish hood shape, while trucks from the 50s onwards had more wide, flat shapes, more like modern pickups. But we only see the truck from behind, so that information doesn't illuminate much. Maybe someone who knows more about trucks than me could deduce something from the truck's design, but I can't. So Rabbit gets taken to this town, which, contrary to my conclusion in the last episode, does look extremely British. The man who grabbed him is a toy seller, and he says that Rabbit is a special rabbit and gives him a tag that says as much, and puts him front and center in his store window. But ruh-roh, these other toys, Mutant, Pooh, Tigger, and Piglet, are jealous because they've been there a long time and still haven't been sold, and they want to be special and have a special tag. So there's literally no reason why these toys look like Pooh, Tigger, and Piglet. Nothing about the story would change if they had been anything else. And why? Why are they similar? Are they off-brand Pooh, Tigger, and Piglet? Is Tigger not, in fact, the only one? Are Poohs, Tiggers, and Piglets cranked out en masse in sweatshops? I mean, I know they are, because they're Disney property, but you know what I mean. Are Poohs, Tiggers, and Piglets churned out of an assembly line, and these guys are the defective ones? Also, why are they even alive? Christopher Robin doesn't know they're in here, so he can't have imagined them to life. Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe it's Toy Story rules, and all toys are secretly alive. But no, we see this doll and she's totally inert. Why are bizarro Pooh, Tigger, and Piglet alive, but she isn't? Maybe she's a really, really sound sleeper. Also, I'm sort of surprised to see Rabbit being sold as a toy. Pooh's a stuffed bear, they talk about him being stuffed with fluff and all that. But I always thought that Rabbit was like an actual rabbit, like an animal. He doesn't have any seams or stitches on him. He's even got fur. See, he's got a little tuft of fur on his little head there. The original historical toys that the Pooh stories were based on were Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, Kanga, and Eeyore. And Rabbit wasn't one of them, but A.A. Milne added him as a character in the stories anyway. So I figured he and Owl and Gopher were just an actual rabbit and owl and gopher that lived in the woods and that the toys would interact with. Oh well, I guess not. Anyway, Eeyore saw Rabbit leaving, so Christopher Robin, Pooh, Tigger, and Piglet go to town to look for him. Tigger spots Rabbit in the window, but Rabbit says he doesn't want to go back because the others don't treat him like he's special. Then when Tigger's not looking, the bad toys beat Rabbit up and drag him away. Tigger's confused, but tells the others that Rabbit's in there, so Christopher Robin says they'll come back tomorrow when the store's open and buy Rabbit back. That night, we see Rabbit getting chased around by the bad toys and eventually having the special tag stolen. So, when they first start chasing him down for the tag, Rabbit says he won't give it up because he wants Christopher Robin to buy him. I find this curious. How long was it his plan to be bought by Christopher Robin? He didn't have any reason to think Christopher Robin would find him when he was first given the tag, and he was happy anyway. He isn't glad to see Tigger at all, which, if he was hoping for Christopher Robin to find him, he really should be. This line only really makes sense if it was his plan all along for Christopher Robin to find him and get him back, but his behavior up to this point isn't consistent with that idea. He's totally unconcerned with being picked up by a stranger and driven away to God knows where. Oh well. So Christopher Robin comes back the next day hoping to buy Rabbit with his 5 pennies. Now, alright, I thought maybe these pennies could help narrow down the setting. Not only are American pennies different from British pennies, but British pennies also changed in 1971 when British currency was decimalized, with the old pennies being declared no longer legal tender. So, the design of the pennies could have been a clue about not just the country, but maybe the date as well. Unfortunately, all the pennies are showing their obverse side, meaning there's less information there. And moreover, the art just isn't detailed enough to say anything for sure. These could really be US pennies or British pennies, either pre or post decimalization. We just can't say. Alright, so this guy, the store owner, he's mysterious. He grabs Rabbit off the road for reasons unknown. He declares that Rabbit is extremely special as soon as he gets him back to the store, again, for reasons unknown. Then, when Christopher Robin tries to buy Rabbit with 5 pennies, he says that's not enough, but tells Christopher Robin he'll give him a bicycle instead. Okay, so even if this were set as far back as 1950, 5 cents in 1950s currency would, by my math, be worth something like 50 cents today. So probably not enough to buy a stuffed rabbit, and definitely not enough to buy a bicycle. So what's going on? Christopher Robin throws in a bunch of junk from his pocket, and the guy's just like, sorry, still not enough. So they throw in a pot of Pooh's honey, plus the stuff they borrowed from Rabbit, so basically just junk that no store owner would take as payment. But the guy says it's all very valuable stuff, but still not worth enough to buy this very special rabbit. So Christopher Robin leaves, because that's everything they have. Rabbit's devastated that he's not getting bought back after all. But then Pooh tells Christopher Robin to tell the guy that he's also willing to give a whole lot of love. And that does it. Going once, going twice, sold. So is this guy, is he like some kind of glamoured elf or an angel or something here visiting this plane of existence to bother with people and teach them valuable lessons about friendship or toy ownership or something? He's definitely not human. He knows too much. I mean, this has to be some kind of ploy to make sure Christopher Robin is, like, worthy of owning Rabbit, right? He's not interested in money, obviously. He's got to be some kind of extra-dimensional being who knows that Christopher Robin's toys are sentient creatures with feelings. And he's some kind of caretaker of lost toys, using his divine wisdom to choose when and where toys get bought, to ensure they're treated with at least a minimum of human dignity, as laid out in the Geneva Convention. Like, there's no other explanation for why he treats Rabbit like this and does this thing with the pennies. Like, it's gotta be some kind of weird mind game, like Saw, but like a good, nice version for making a toy happy. I mean, the alternative is that he's just some kind of rich, eccentric weirdo who has this toy shop gig because he likes to mess with kids and make them say weird stuff. And I don't want to believe that. So Christopher Robin buys Rabbit, and then they have a birthday party, the end. As weird and kind of inexplicable as it is, I think I kind of like this one, to be honest. I don't really get what Rabbit thinks he's doing for a lot of it, but the conflict feels pretty real and understandable. It's not like Stripes, where everyone just becomes stupid to the point of insanity and confusion ensues. Rabbit's annoyed because he feels like everyone else just sees him as someone they can get stuff from, and that they just come to him for stuff instead of just to chat or to offer to help him with things. But Tigger elsewhere, while talking to Piglet about how much they like Rabbit, says, and he never even asks for help. So viewers, what do you think? Is it fair of Rabbit to be annoyed that no one offers to help him? Or is the onus on him to ask for something if he wants it? Furthermore, no, in this episode, no one comes to Rabbit just to chat. They do all want something from him. But do we think that Rabbit is any different? Do we believe that Rabbit is any more likely than these guys to go over to their house and strike up a friendly conversation just for the sake of it? I mean, we can't really say for sure, but just extrapolating from what I know about Rabbit, I kind of doubt it. Now, do I know for sure that Rabbit doesn't act to his friends the way he wishes they'd act to him? No. Do I think it'd be in his character to maybe fail to recognize his own failings and as a result be a teeny tiny little bit of a hypocrite? Definitely. Well, somehow managed to talk for almost 15 minutes about just 2 episodes. They weren't even important episodes. Nothing too special, really, but, you know, somehow I found ways to digress about refrigerators and cars and currency. We fill up almost 15 minutes, so I think I'm calling it here. Thanks to everyone whose name is scrolling by right now. Really appreciate your patronage. Everyone's pledging $5 or more on Patreon. Thanks a million. Thanks special thanks to Matthew, David, Ash Vampire, Bob, Chelsea, and Crack. You guys are the best. I love you even more than I love these almonds. Damn. Maybe I could have picked a better time to eat these. They're just really, really tempting though. No, they're from the bottom of the jar, so they had like extra salt on them. They're really salty. I love it. And they're extra salty. I like to smush them around in the salt at the bottom of the thing. Make sure they get a little extra coating on there. Turn the nut so the salty side hits my tongue first, so I taste it the most. That's how I eat my almonds. Let me know in the comments how you eat your almonds. Okay, thanks for watching. Goodbye.